mentors out there preaching you don't need to start small, you can just go big. But that wasn't how I did it. That's never how I did anything in my life. I always started small. With snowboarding, I didn't just go hit big jumps. You started with a 5-foot jump or a 2-foot jump. So my thought process, I guess, was kind of similar for good or for bad or good. I started with a duplex, then I bought a 9plex, then I bought a 24 unit deal, and I bought all these deals on my own, all my own money. So it was all on me.
Welcome to The Path to Wealth, the show about well-being, fulfillment, and financial freedom. And I'm your host, Hannes Henty. Welcome, everybody. Today we have Dan Brisse, and he's a multifamily syndicator and a formerly pro athlete. He's a snowboarder that traveled around the world and jumped from heights that would make me scared. So this is a great session all about mindset today. And he's going to tell us what it takes to jump off a building, literally. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So how did you get into literally your dream career of becoming like a pro-sponsored snowboarder? Like, how did this go about, the transition from like school into a pro career?
Yeah. When I was younger, I was very athletic and I loved sports. That was the one thing I knew. I kind of had a little bit of a strength zone in my area that I excelled. And I ended up finding snowboarding through some friends and just had so much fun doing it. And so in the beginning, it really wasn't about trying to be a pro snowboarder. It was 100% about just following a passion and just having fun. And as I went snowboarding over a 3, 4, 5-year period, the fun turned into kind of an obsession. And after 5 or so years, I could kind of see that there was a possibility that the way I was progressing, there was a chance of potentially making it as a professional snowboarder. So I moved out to Salt Lake City, Utah after high school. And at that point, I obsessively focused on snowboarding every day. I worked night jobs. And after 3, 4 more years in Salt Lake snowboarding every day, I finally went to a contest in Aspen, Colorado called the Aspen Open. And I won that contest and my career kind of launched. So it was an 8 to 10 year period of a pretty rigorous grind and sacrifice to finally get to the point of actually making it as a professional snowboarder.
To suddenly become an overnight success in that event.
Yeah, that's the funny part about it all, is that unless you followed the beginning 10 years and all of a sudden people hear about you, they all think it happened overnight. And of course, we all know nothing's overnight. It's a decade of sacrifice, maybe a little less if you can, streamline some of these processes.
Yeah. So it's really, you rolled up at that event and you won. And from the outside, it could look like someone is an overnight success. But it's really that diligent grind. And one of the things I see today is that people don't have the patience to grind it out like that. I at least in the social media space or people that I meet, there's a lot of impatience. So how did you look at that space of time, grinding it out? Like after 7 years, were you still in it because it just felt right, the right thing to do for you, because it was truly your passion? Or did you always look to that pro spot in it?
Yeah, I think, the difference between those that commit and don't quit, it is finding that massive passion and the massive obsession. And, that doesn't happen overnight. That obsession and passion takes months and years of focusing on a goal. And I think that a lot of times we focus on our weaknesses and try to improve our weaknesses. And one thing I try to remind myself and focus on is focus on my strengths. I'm not very good at a lot of things, but I do have some strength zones that if I really focus in on, I can become very unique at. I mean, I can spend all the time in the world on my accounting in our business and real estate right now, and I don't care how much time I spend, I'm never going to be as good as our accountant. There's no way. My mind doesn't work like his mind. So I think a big part of it is just realizing and learning about what you're good at when you're young and what you really like and love to do, and then hone in on that and focus on it and just go all the way.
Which is kind of counter, not too intuitive, but it's the school teaches us also to hone in on what we're weak at. And like, like I used to have a tutor in the subjects that I sucked at. And then instead of really nurturing or like, oh, this kid is really good here, that's where we should naturally take them, right? So did you have that self-awareness in, I mean, when I guess when it came to snowboarding, it's very natural to you, but in other spaces in your life, other subjects, or maybe in regards to real estate, did you just have that self-awareness, or is it a process to it? How do you identify what is like
Yeah.
the natural game for you?
Yeah, I think that, it always was following what I'm most interested in. And when I was younger, it was sports and athleticism. And as I got older, I became very interested in money, and not in a way that I want to acquire things, but
Yeah,
in a way that, why is it that some people are super wealthy and others are broke? What is the difference? I grew up in
yeah.
central Minnesota, and I was around people who were poor to middle class, and then I had friends who were very wealthy. And I became very close with both sides of these people, and I'd be hanging out with them regularly, and I would just see the different frames of thoughts. And it became something that I just wanted to understand, and be able to say that I understand how the game of money works. And so I think that interest and, passion kind of started to develop midway through my snowboarding career. And then I could see the writing on the wall. There was no way my career was going to last forever. What am I going to do from here to not have my life crash like a lot of
Yeah.
athletes do, and have it excel and have interest in something I'm passionate about, for the rest of my life. I was 33 years old when my career started to wind down. I mean, that's pretty young. I'm
Yeah.
38 now. So I think it was just the interest and the curiosity and the goal of winning. I'm a pretty competitive guy, and I wanted to win at sports, and I like to win at the game of money too. And that's just understanding it to a high enough level, and putting in the time to, become one of the best.
So did you have anybody in your surroundings, like figures that could nurture that curiosity when it came to mastering the money piece? Because from the sports side, I can see you already mastered the mindset. Because I mean, I've seen some of the videos where you're jumping from one building to another. And in a little bit, I want to touch up on that iron ore story because that just
Yeah.
looks incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it was two parts. Initially, it was just my self-education, being interested in trying to understand it. I think
Yeah.
there's a part of self-education that's really powerful, and you can go get a formal education and you'll make a living, and if you get self-education, you can make a fortune. And I really I heard that from Jim Rohn when I was pretty young. And so I really grasped that, and I liked that concept. I wasn't super interested in school, and I didn't like the rules and regulations, and that you had to learn this broad information from a lot of different subjects. I'd rather learn the detailed information from subjects I'm very interested in. So I started reading every book I could get my hands on when it came to real estate.
At which age did that develop, that curiosity for real estate? Like, so, and at what point were you exposed to Jim Rohn and how? Because I think
Yeah.
I haven't had anything like Jim Rohn in my life till at a later stage.
Yeah, I don't remember at the age of when Jim Rohn. I was reading a lot of books by Wayne Dyer, and kind of these
Yeah.
guys that would talk more about thought control and, just positivity. And I don't really know how I came about him, but when he spoke and I listened to him, I liked what he said. It was very clear, very simple to
Yeah.
understand. Concepts that he said worked for him. And I like to model people that have the results, and I can verify that what they did found success. So a lot of times when I'm looking at picking someone to read up on and follow up on, I'm doing some research first on who they are and what results they've accomplished.
Yeah.
So like with real estate, for me, when we were looking to find somebody to help us learn more, I wanted to find somebody who already had great results. So, and I think that happened in snowboarding too. As far as finding the right mindset, you have to model the best. If you're focusing on getting the right mindset, you have to see the level of what the best is behaving like, what their actions are like. With snowboarding, it was easy to do that because you could watch these videos of the best in the world, and you could see what they were doing in their video parts, and it was very clear of how to model it. Multifamily, it was a little bit less easy and less clear to find those steps, but with some digging, You can find some mentors that have incredible success and get close to them and learn their thought habits. I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, is getting the thought habits on command.
So, but in those videos, you see what the athletes are doing in terms of snowboarding, but you still quite can't look into their head. So, did you have some distinct moments where you knew you cracked your mindset? Like, because I had a couple of distinct moments in my life where I feel like, okay, I got that message finally. And, from here on forward.
Mhm. Yeah, when you watch success, when you watch someone for sports specifically, a huge part of learning something is just repetitively watching it and repetitively seeing it. And if you see it over and over and over again, like we would on these snowboarding videos, we would learn tricks in the summertime. So you would spend all summer when there's no snow watching
Yeah.
these videos over and over and over again, and all of a sudden you go snowboarding the first time the next year and you all of a sudden land these tricks first try. And everyone's like, what in the heck? How did you do that? You just took the last 6 months off. You came out first day and just landed a frontside rodeo, which is a trick in snowboarding.
Yeah.
And best answer I have for you is, after you watch something enough, your brain starts to connect the dots and you learn how to do something by just watching it over and over again. If you can see it clearly in your mind,
Yeah. I
you
was
can
about
do
to
it
say.
clearly in real life. So that's a huge piece that and you talk to any athlete who's very high level at what they do, they've learned to use the process of visualization and on repetition obsessively
Yeah.
to become elite.
So now that you moved on from pro athletics, are you still visualizing things in your life? Do you start your day with this?
Yeah, what I find now is I find myself just thinking about our business, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about what can we do to improve, and it's not as much visualizing real estate and what we do. It's more just contemplating how to solve problems, because that's one thing we continually have. As you grow a business, every entrepreneur knows it's problem after problem after problem, which is what makes it kind of fun, is
Yeah.
how do you successfully navigate this environment, the changing environment, especially now, this economic environment we're in. How do you navigate it and come out at the end, successfully? And I think that's probably where I spend more of my time, is just contemplating how to solve problems, how to build the team, how to communicate, how to how to keep everyone together.
And then when it comes to the assets you're investing in, what is like your sweet spot, the kind of properties that you're in? I know you're in the Sun Belt area and we're talking about multifamily, so it's larger acquisitions, but give people an idea what you're investing in and what have been some of your recent investments.
Yeah, we're 100% focused on multifamily value add. We're buying property in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Nashville, Tennessee, specifically focused on those markets. Everything else that we've had or have, we're liquidating and heading towards those markets due to them being very landlord friendly and business friendly. The pandemic has helped us learn and navigate over the last couple of years deals that did well and why, and deals that struggled and why, because we've owned assets in Minneapolis and in Minnesota and New
Yeah.
Mexico, and you see the different markets and the different level of performance of these deals based on the landlord friendly and business friendly environment. So we're buying multifamily value add, as I said, somewhere between 100 units and 400 units. Purchase price anywhere between 15 million and 50 million is our sweet spot, and we'll kind of just do the same thing over and over again. We're not really trying to reinvent the wheel. We found something that works and works very
Yeah.
well, and we're kind of in that rinse and repeat cycle right now. And in the growth phase, at a healthy enough phase where we can continue to add assets, but not overdo it with asset management. Because once you own a deal, that's when the work really does begin.
Yeah. So how did that go for you from jumping off buildings into the snow into jumping deals on that scale? Where did you make that transition in terms of the mindset to go into real estate on that scale? Did you have any single family experience in between? Did you go straight into large scale multifamily acquisitions?
Yeah, for me, I know that there's a lot of mentors out there preaching you don't need to start small, you can just go big. And you can if you partner with others that have the experience, but that wasn't how I did it. That's never how I did anything in my life. I always started small. With snowboarding, I didn't just go hit big jumps. You started with a 5-foot jump or a 2-foot
Yeah.
jump. So my thought process, I guess, was kind of similar, for good or for bad or good. I think you're going to have difference of opinions there, but I started with a duplex, then I bought a 9-plex, then I
Yeah.
bought a 24 unit deal, and I bought all these deals on my own, all my own money. So it was all on me. There was a lot of focus during that time while still snowboarding. And
At which stage in the career did you start doing that? When you
I was probably about 75% through my career already. So
Okay.
maybe 70%. So 3/4 of the way through, I was realizing that I needed to start finding ways to invest the money I was making, the currency I was making, into assets that cash flowed. And I was trying to find a way to replace my income so that I didn't have to go back to working at TGI Fridays and Red Lobster and these other jobs that I really
Yeah.
had no desire to be at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, when you look at other pro athletes, and I think everybody knows stories of some major athletes that blew the money. How did you know better? You mentioned some of your friends that were snowboarding and were maybe not going through the smoothest transition. Did you learn through that observation?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I got to know a lot of my childhood heroes in Salt Lake City when I was younger in Minnesota. All I had access to these guys was through videos. And once I moved to Salt Lake City, I kind of hit a point where I started to become a well-known rider. And those well-known riders that were my heroes still were in the business, but they were getting closer to exiting their career. And I became friends with a lot of them. And when I would see their careers wind down, it really scared me. I could see how brutal it could be, and it kind of scared me. So, knowing how successful they had been and how big their careers were, if I was lucky enough to have as long of a run and be as successful as some of these guys, I knew I had to start to find ways to prepare for that. So, I lived pretty much like I was making a low income, and I just
Yeah.
shoveled the rest into these deals, and lived a little bit more like I was broke. I mean, I didn't live that broke, but I
Yeah.
lived way below my means. And I think that piece, if you can get that habit and that mindset at a young age, for any athlete, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what athlete you are in the world, if you can make 500,000 plus to a million, or 2+ million a year, you should be able to retire from your career and live a beautiful life. And I can see the path on how you do that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you just have bad habits from a lot of athletes that think that once they earn a lot of income or have to sign a big contract, now they're rich. And that's just not how the game of money works. Again, you're misunderstanding how money works. And you see a lot of the guys in our sports that they get paid a couple $1,000,000 and it ruins them. And they are done after a few years of spending it all. They straight up say the worst thing that ever happened to me was when I made a ton of money. And that's just too sad. That's not how it should be. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be that way.
So is that part of where you're going in your journey, maybe to help those athletes in the future, maybe especially in the snowboarding community, because you have access to them?
Yes, yes. I mean, any athletes that we can talk to, I just feel so certain. I never want to use the word guarantee, because investing, you can't guarantee anything, but I
Yeah.
feel so confident and certain that we can help any athlete, and whether it's snowboarding, football, basketball, baseball, anyone, we can help them transition from an a high income career to retirement, and have their net worth continue to grow and compound over the years ahead. As you know, every athlete's young, and the biggest
Yeah.
thing they've got on their side is time, which, if you put money into these kinds of deals, because you'll qualify as an accredited investor, you will compound your wealth and you will never work again. As long as you're with great operators and you are in great markets, your wealth will exponentially grow, and your professional career should be just the beginning of your wealth.
So what do you think athletes that are thinking about the transition should focus on when they're seeking out those operators or opportunities, in terms of how do they identify the right kind of operator and opportunity?
Yeah, that's a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to either, do your self education and start reading books and understand it, and control it, or you're going to have to meet other people or invest with other people who you trust. You know, one of my biggest things when I'm investing into apartments is I have to know, like, and trust the syndicator, the person who's in control of the deal. And if
Yeah.
I don't know, like, and trust them, and I mean know them well, there's no way I'm investing with them. So part of it is taking some time and getting to know. And if you don't have a ton of time and you got to invest soon, start talking to some of their investors and look for their track record. Call them, go out to lunch, have them fly out, you know, get around them and see if there is synergy. And if you feel that synergy and you can verify their track record is legit and solid, and you can talk to some of their investors, you will, you know, find good operators. I mean, people can reach out to us at granitetowersequitygroup.com. There's a contact us form, and meet with us, talk with us. And if you like us, you can invest with us. If it's something where it's not the right fit, keep searching.
Yeah, I agree. I always say it's breaking bread. I need to be very comfortable with someone before I give them my money or go into their opportunities, because I mean, you just need to know the values of someone, because maybe they're in for the wrong reasons, and
That's
it
it.
just
That's it.
doesn't align with your own values.
And the other part to be aware of in this business, which is it's dangerous, is that it's very, very easy to adjust some small numbers on a spreadsheet to show returns that are unrealistic. And if you're not with people of high integrity in this business, it's very easy in our position as general partners to take advantage of investors and show returns that are unrealistic.
Yeah.
So it's important to do your homework and don't get sucked into a spreadsheet. You know, you might look at a deal from us that shows a 75% return over 5 years, and then you might look at another deal from another group that shows 125% over 5 years. Well, we could make our spreadsheet show you 125, but generally when you're seeing numbers like that, there's a reason. It's if you're putting those kind of returns on paper, you probably can't raise money very easily, or you're getting investors to come in when it's an unrealistic expectation. Now, some of these deals may do that well,
Yeah.
but most indicators who do a great job are not going to project those kind of returns, because in all reality, you want to project low and overachieve, right? I mean, that's our goal, is to bring investor expectations low and then come in high with our results.
Yeah.
So, you know, just again, doing your homework is critical with who the GP team is.
Yeah, I think both you and me, we've seen a lot of deals turn around rather quickly, especially like, for example, in the Phoenix area where the cap rates are extremely compressed. So some of those faster returns are there, but nevertheless, I think it's always good to be on the side of caution when it comes to that.
Yeah, agreed.
So one of the things before I forget about is I tell us the story how you found that iron ore kiln. Like it just
Oh
looks so
yeah.
amazing how you jump out of that pipe. Like just the dimensions between the height, the pipe, and yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, the story of how we found it, maybe you can put a picture up for the listeners if it's on
Yeah,
YouTube. But yeah, that
we
there
will
was
add it.
we were up in the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we were in a small town called I'm drawing a blank on the name of the town, Marquette. I think it was Marquette, Michigan. And while we were there, we met a gentleman who rented us a piece of machinery to move snow, and he
Yeah,
owned the business there. And after being in town for a week, he said I should come out and take a look at this sculpture, which crushed iron ore, which is on the back of his property. So we got on
yeah,
snowmobiles and snowmobiled out, you know, a mile or so, and came around the corner, and all of a sudden you have this huge pipe that's way up in the sky, 50, 75 feet up in the air. And uh, you know, we were like, let's try to film on this thing. So he helped us set up a landing. He helped us set up, got the snow up in the pipe, and just kind of like Mario Brothers, if you can't see it and you're driving, just like Mario Brothers, we went snowboarding out of this pipe and dropped, you know, 50, 70 feet out of the pipe and had a landing of snow. So it was a lot of that stuff just was luck. And I relate that to business, you know, when you're obsessively focused on a goal and you're committed, and I truly mean you're committed, this is what you do and it's all you do,
yeah.
there will be other opportunities and things that come to you that you couldn't even imagine. And I think that's just the basic of life, is if when you are committed, people feel that energy and they want to be around what you're doing, and people start to help out and step up, and all of a sudden unique situations you can never could have imagined are right in front of you.
Yeah. I feel like just seeing you jumping out of that pipe or jumping from building to building, that going for real estate deals seems like a cakewalk for you in your head. Like,
Yeah, it's different, and I think the way you relate to that is anything you do a lot of, you become more comfortable with. And
yeah.
although there was some fear, I mean, when you're jumping out of anything, whenever we hit a feature we were filming on, there was always fear on our
I hope
end.
you would still have an ounce of fear when you jump out of that pipe.
Oh yeah, there is fear there, and as you become more comfortable and better at what you do, now you're doing things that people think you're crazy, and you're like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but I know it's totally doable. Same with
Yeah.
real estate. As you become more skilled and more comfortable with how the business works, some people might look at you like you're crazy, and you're like, yeah, this is a little uncomfortable, but we can do it. We can handle it.
So talking about comfort, I'm sure you had a lot of falls and crashes. Did you have any major injuries?
Yeah, I've had a handful of major injuries. Yeah, dislocated kneecap. I broke my kneecap, broken wrist, broken collarbone, many
Oof.
concussions. Separated AC separation in my shoulder. I mean, the list goes on and on. Torn MCL. I mean, sprained ankles. You name it. I've been through it for sure.
But you've always got up again. Like the obsession was always there. So it wasn't even a question for you not to go out again and jump, right?
Yeah. No, I think that that's something that when you're committed to a goal, and I mean, like you're obsessively focused on a goal, you're gonna have setbacks. There's no way
Yeah.
around that. You're gonna have failure. You should just plan on that. Be ready for some of that, and then when it's there, if you're committed, you're not looking for ways out. You're looking for ways through. And
Yeah.
that's where in the
I like that.
beginning, yeah, that's where in the beginning, as you're heading towards a goal, maybe you don't try to be. I didn't plan to be a real estate investor like we are now. I didn't plan to be buying 5 to 8 deals a year, raising 25 to 50 million a year. I really didn't. And my goal was just to invest the money I had.
Yeah.
And as you continue to go and as you continue to grow, you'll move at a pace that sometimes is surprising to you even.
I think many of us in this space would agree that we've already overshot some of our original goals. Like, I
Hmm.
think when I
Yeah.
started in multifamily, or in general, when I came to this country, I didn't think I would be a partner in such large acquisitions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's part of getting serious about something you're interested in and just laser focusing in. I think if there's one thing I can say to everybody here is get something you're very interested in and laser focus for a long period of time until you become very unique at what you do. It's the one thing that seemed to have worked so far in my life with both snowboarding and real estate so far. And real estate's just getting going. Maybe in 5 years I'll be like, dang, I really wasn't on the right track, but that's part of life, right? No, I
Yeah.
mean, this is year 10 for me in real estate, and so far I feel like we've fine-tuned and made some adjustments, and we'll continue to do that.
Do you feel that same sense of healthy obsession that you have in real estate that you used to have in snowboarding? Or like that flow state that you almost had in
Yeah,
snowboarding? Do you have
yeah.
a similar state when you go for real estate deals? And at which part of the acquisition maybe do you have the most excitement or the most flowy state?
Yeah, I think the difference between my snowboarding career and where we are now is just in my snowboarding career it was all about me. Like,
Yeah.
did I land that trick? Did I film today? Did I give it everything I had? Did I, it's really a self-centered sport on how you're doing. The team is there for you. The photographers are there for you. The team managers are there for you. And now in this business, it's so much less about me and it's about the team of who can we put together and who do we need in place and how do you build their confidence up and put the right person in place to handle that job. So now it's obsessively focused more about where is the company,
Yeah.
and what direction are we heading and how do you 10x from here and what do you need to do, who do you need to put in place, and what kind of training programs you need to have. So it's just a total different mentality, but still my mind is constantly on it. So obsessively you're still there, it's just in a totally different way.
So, what were your biggest learnings on the journey building a team? I mean, I think we all have our pitfalls when it comes to team building. We have like maybe the wrong kind of hires or the property management companies that don't work so well with us. Like, what are your bigger learning lessons in that, and how do you plan on moving forward, building a great team for yourself?
Yeah, I like the line. I feel like it's a good one. Is slow to hire, quick to fire. I will say that the best team members we've hired have been people who have wanted to work for free and just want to be a part of the company, and then we bring them in, or
Yeah,
we test run them for 6 months, or that we worked with them somewhere else and we saw how they performed and they believed in what we were doing and the direction we're going. Those were some of our best hires. I mean, we did hire an excellent accountant from CBRE.
yeah,
He was ready to move on from a huge company and wanted to start with a startup, and super sharp. And we had help with hiring that team member from our other team member, our CPA. So
yeah,
a lot of times you have to bring in professionals in this business where you're building a team to help you bring in the most high quality team member, because at the end of the day, your accountant's communicating with your CPA, and we may not speak the language accountants and CPA speak. That's a total
yeah,
different level of vocabulary. So
yeah,
we need some help from someone who understands the accounting world, who we already know, like, and trust. It's been on our team for years, which is our CPA, to help us bring in the best accountant possible. And they need to have synergy. So that process is a team. Hiring the team is a team effort.
yeah. So what's the culture like that you're looking for with those people?
I'd say we're just looking for people who really love the business, and love real estate and want to put in the time. There's no shortcuts to success. That's just the
Yeah,
bottom line. Is you got to put in the effort, and I think just general great attitude of understanding that it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be perfect, but with the right attitude and the right people in place, we can accomplish anything. And I truly believe that.
so what made you focus on the Nashville area? Like, what do you like about Nashville in particular?
Yeah, Nashville was brought to us from another team member, a guy that I grew up with in actually the snowboarding industry. His name's Steve Woolworth, and he joined with us in 2017 in that mentoring program down in Dallas, Fort Worth. And he went and did a bunch of homework and research in Nashville and built out the team. And we like that because the job growth there is just phenomenal. The
Yeah,
vacancy is low, rent growth is high. We've got really a large market there to choose from and build a really solid team. There's a lot of interest from a lot of buyers when you're trying to exit. So that combination, and then really just finding a great deal. Once
yeah,
we found that great deal and we verified it was a great deal, and we really know Steve Woolworth well. I've known him from my snowboarding career. We're willing to go into business with someone like that. So that market really opened up because he put the time in and built out the team, and then found a deal and needed help getting it across the finish line. So at
yeah.
that time, we partnered with him, and we kind of came in and raised the money and polished the underwriting and business plan with him, and off to the races we went.
Yeah. So when it comes to partnering with someone, what are like your North Star core values?
Yeah, I think number one is you just got to like the person. That's
Yeah,
that's the most important thing right out of the gate is, do we like them? And then from there, do you have similar values? What's your work ethic like? What's your spending habits like? We don't want to go into business with a partner that just spends everything they make and they live beyond their means, right? I mean, so similar values. Do they add value to the team in some way? Maybe
yeah,
someone's really, really great at underwriting and the other person's really great at raising capital. That's a good team. If you got two people who are great at underwriting and no one can raise any money, that's not going to get the deal done. So I think there's some of that, but really the foundation of it is, do we really like this person? Do we share similar values, and do they have a work ethic that is going to get us to move the needle? Because again, like I said, there's no shortcuts to success. It takes time and effort and massive amounts of it.
yeah. I think that's very clear. I mean, you've done that in your snowboarding career, and you're doing it here. Like it just takes that diligence, patience, consistency, and a lot of hustle, like healthy hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. People think that my snowboarding career was easy, and if they knew what I actually went through to make it in the sport, they would think I was crazy. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we would put in effort like that's nuts. People would think we were nuts. But,
Yeah.
when you love it and it's what you want to do, that's what you do. Passion.
I don't think anything from what I've seen looks easy from what you've been doing there. Like it's just like, if I look at the logistical effort that even goes into that 90-minute clips, 90-second clips, not minute, then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's tons of work. And it's like, you guys
Yeah.
set it all up and you prep it. It's obviously not easy, to me at least.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with real estate. When we
Yeah,
started our business initially, and we're, what are we, 6 years in here? The first 2, 3 years, we didn't buy much, and we underwrote a ton. We'd work all day, and then we'd work at night after the kids would go to bed. Both Mike
yeah.
and I. Mike is the other owner of Granite Towers Equity Group with me, and it's the sacrifice that you just aren't going to see unless you're in the business or on a career with most of these people. You just finally see the successes most of the time.
I think that the same is true for business and athlete success. People only see the shiny moments and forget about the hustle,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't see what it takes from getting up early, to burning the midnight oil.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, what would you recommend people that are just getting started in a transition, or maybe they just want to get into real estate, or maybe even just getting financially savvy? Where should they start?
I really love the Rich Dad books. Robert Kiyosaki does a very good job of making things that have been told to us that are very complex, very simple.
Yeah,
And those were the books that really opened up my eyes to say, hold on here. There's not a super complex, secret here for getting wealthy. It's really a simple idea, which is buy assets and increase your
yeah,
passive income. And as long as you buy strong assets that go up in value and cash flow well, if you consistently do that, you'll become very wealthy. And so for me, that was really the beginning. It was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, those books. Ken McElroy has a really great book called The ABCs of Real Estate Investing. We have a pretty short book on our website. It's an ebook at www.granitetowersequitygroup.com. A lot of YouTube videos, and eventually, if you are liking what you're reading and you want to buy deals, you got two options. You can either buy deals on your own,
yeah.
or start a business and buy deals, or you can invest passively with others. So, once you make that decision, you have to make a choice. And I think personally, based off of what I've found in my life, the best investments I've ever made are beyond my education. First was education, but second is multifamily investments.
The interesting thing is that I always look at the majority of information is actually in the public domain, but you can give it to the majority and nothing will happen. It's like people need to elect themselves, just like you decided you're going to put in the grind in snowboarding to really make things happen for yourself. I think when it comes to financial independence or just living a different standard of living altogether, it's really having that sense of ownership and responsibility. Is that something that was nurtured in you as a kid? Do you have role models in your family, or where does it come from that you pick it up on yourself to have that level of responsibility for whatever you're going for?
Yeah, maybe a little from my parents. When I was younger, I always wanted a lot of different things, and my parents were pretty slow to give me anything I ever asked for, and pretty much said, if you want it, you're gonna have to work for it.
Yeah,
And maybe that habit started from my parents, not really necessarily financially being able to provide some of it, and just hearing it over and over again that, if it's to be, it's up to me, and that
yeah.
that sort of mentality, I think, it turns into a habit. And I think that if you can harness that in kids and help them understand that work ethic is critical, it's so crucial. And if you mix that with passion, then you have a chance of doing something a little unique.
So, I mean, you already have a child. How do you plan to encourage that in like, how do you bring that out in children? How do you nurture it?
Yeah, I think that's been the hardest thing for me to figure out thus far. Is I've got a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, and another one on the way, actually. But for my 9-year-old, I don't want to push him so hard into trying to achieve goals and follow a passion that it separates our relationship. And I do want to help him and her. She's the youngest is going to be a girl. I want to
Yeah,
help them still have something that they're very interested in life. As from my perspective, it seems like the people who have a lot of interest enjoy life a little more, and that's not always the case, but just generally speaking here. So I'm still working on figuring that out and working with other parents who have done it, get around some of these other parents who have had kids who are now very happy and have applied themselves in life, and trying to
Yeah.
understand what they did and how they went about it so I can copy some of those habits. I'm pretty serious about copying people that are successful.
Yeah. So it looks like you're trying to find the DNA of a fulfilled life and kind of handing that over to the kids in a blueprint that you've seen with someone else, right?
Yeah, I think for me is can I be that person and show that to them just by my daily actions. So maybe they have someone that they can follow. And if I'm not in those areas, who can I get into my life that, or who can I learn from that did it, and I can adopt some of those habits to start implementing them.
So how do you define success and fulfillment for yourself? Because I think the true win in life is following our passion and having that sense of fulfillment beyond anything else.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of different pieces of success. Is it an emotional success where you feel good inside? Is it financially successful where you can live the freedom life you want to live? Is it a health, sense of success? So I think there's avenues that need to be monitored, and it's not just one, thing necessarily. I mean, if I was summing it up, it's, were you able to create the life you wanted to create? And did you have
Yeah.
everything happen that you wanted to have happen? So I think that that's probably, if you're looking for a quick answer of what do you want and how good are you at making what you want to happen in your life and how quickly can you do it? So, but I think there's a lot to it with your health and wealth and, love, happiness. There's so much there that you can't just put it into one quick box.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is why the podcast is called The Path to Wealth, where health, well-being meets financial wealth, because I think it's a well-rounded package. It doesn't. I think that I know many people who are just like very happy with their job, but they're struggling on the money part. So there's something missing. And then I know other people who are extremely successful in financial terms, but they're as miserable as it gets. And I'm like, okay, that's not the path to be on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's checking in with yourself, I think, on a daily basis and weekly
Yeah.
and monthly, and making changes based off of what you're learning. We have a really successful investor in our deals that he's a very accomplished business owner, and he says build your team and head west, build your business and head west, and basically all that means is figure it out as you go and make course corrections, on daily corrections as needed. So that's life right there, is his daily corrections and not quitting.
Yeah, true. I agree. I mean, most people, you can't, like the career you had, even in snowboarding and in multifamily, you probably could have never dreamed of it or see that coming the way it unfolded, right?
Yep 100%.
Like I definitely never saw myself owning those large assets in Dallas, Texas before. So that was never part of my long-term trajectory before I came here.
Yeah.
So I think that's just like life unfolds and then you make course corrections as you go.
Yep.
So, what are your next goals for the company and yourself? Like, what are you working on right now that you really want to iron out or take to the next level?
Yeah, I think for us, it's setting longer term goals. How do you 10x from here, and what does that timeline look like? And if you're going to 10x, what do you need to start doing now, and how do you need to start thinking now in order to change your behaviors and adjust, again, mid course corrections in order to hit those goals? So, whether it's closing 5 or 8 deals a year or raising 30, 50 million, 100 million a year. I mean, I don't have, I guess, exact numbers there.
Yeah.
It's more of a, how can we 10x our business from here, and what does it need to look like, and what kind of a time frame is that?
Awesome. Dan, I really appreciate jumping on. I know you're a little bit short on time right now and you want to move on.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. It was been great chatting with you, Johannes.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Thanks so much. So you already mentioned it, but where can people connect with you?
Yeah, reach out to us on our website, www.granitetowersequitygroup.com. I'm Dan Brisse. Hit a contact us form there, and we'll get an email and we can schedule a call, hop on with you, see if there's something we can do to help you financially. And if nothing else, we'll give you some solid education to get you on your way to learn more about how to invest, wisely so you can have more freedom and passive income as you grow.
Awesome. Perfect. We will make sure to add this to the show notes, and we will also add some of your video links in the show notes so people understand what we've been talking about the entire time. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at The Path to Wealth. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Check out our upcoming guests and be sure to share it with all your friends and family that want to take their life to the next level of wealth.